Go. I just zoned Howard Cross, though. Tony, thanks for the phone call. See you later.
From the 95.7 The Game content page, you've gotten, when was the last time you thought about the Roman Empire on our Twitter and social media to Equinox and Solstice Talk?
Yeah. By the way, I do not think about the Roman Empire. And it just asked me the same thing. Like, what do you think? I guess it's this bit going on TikTok.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I don't think about the Roman Empire.
Well, I think a lot of us here, to be honest, I was a little disappointed. As the one who doesn't have a high school education, had the most actual Roman knowledge. Everyone else was confusing Greek mythology with the Romans. I was a little disappointed.
Well, I didn't give an opinion one way or the other.
No, you were funny.
I just said, I don't think about the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
When I watch the movies, it's pretty cool to watch. I mean, it's all good. When I went to the Rome Coliseum, it's like, wow, the history, that stuff. But, when we think about the history of the Giants and the Niners, Howard Cross has something to do with it. Former tight end with the New York Giants, now sideline reporter, doing a great job with them. He was part of that Super Bowl 25 winning team. And look, Howard, I'm 41 years old. Shasky will be 41 in about a couple months here. And remember how painful that season was. So before we get to tomorrow, if you want to reminisce and gloat about winning the AFC Championship game 15-13, go ahead. The floor is yours, Howard. Good morning.
No. That's a long time ago, guys. That's ancient history, believe me. I don't even think about the past like that. That's pretty funny, though, that you guys are bringing that up.
Oh, we think about it all the time. We think about the Monday night game, which the Niners beat you guys 7-3. And I remember as a kid, both you guys were undefeated, and then you lost the week before you were supposed to play each other. The Niners and Giants, that is. I believe you guys lost in Philly. Niners lost at home to the Rams. Then they win 7-3. And I'm thinking, man, Niners going to three-peat this year. Young Bonte Hill, young Joe Shasky, we're going to three-peat. And, you crushed our Jeeves, you and Matt Barr and Phil and Jeff Hostetler and the rest of you guys. So we think about it all the time out here on the West Coast. Because you guys, the Giants, have given the Niners a lot of heartbreakers in the past in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's been some up and down with the Giants and the Niners in the playoffs. That is definitely for sure.
Do the Giants?
Funny, my rookie season, if we beat the Rams, we probably would have played you guys in the NFC Championship game that year.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Do Giants fans look at the Niners as a rival the way we look at you guys as a rivalry out here on the West Coast?
I have no idea. You know what? We don't get to play you guys enough for it to be a rival. I think when it's playoff time and it's time for getting ready to go to the Super Bowl, it seems like for whatever reason we kind of running through you guys some way somehow. I think Eli Manning's had to go through you guys one or two times, and it's just the Sims has had to go through you guys. Hostetler, of course, has gone through you guys. So it's been one of those things when both teams are playing well that we kind of meet up in the middle somewhere. So that during that time, yes. Outside of that, I think over the last few years, the Giants have had no rivals because they've been trying to find themselves again.
Yeah, I know. You didn't even bring up Kerry Collins versus Jeff Garcia in the wild card game.
No, I did not.
It's all good. So break down this current team for the Giants. I want to start with the head coach because when Josh Allen and Brian Daboll were together, they were making sweet music. Obviously, there's been a lot about Daboll leaving, and I was so impressed with what Daboll did last year with Daniel Jones. I didn't know if Daniel Jones was any good. Now I'm looking at him, I'm like, wow. I mean, he's giving me some Alex Smith vibes. He's rejuvenating his career. What has Brian Daboll been like to cover these first couple of years?
I mean, he's one of the guys who's kind of created this family atmosphere with the entire team, the entire organization. You can go in on any day into the facility, and he's sitting down and having lunch with the marketing team or with someone from upstairs or just anybody with the kitchen with the people who are doing the cooking. He's sitting down with them and having lunch and talking. He's very approachable, very understanding, but a guy who's bent on detail. And he, the last couple of games, he's been very what's the word I'm looking for, anxious because there have been substitution penalties and false starts, and he hates that most of all. He's like, the process of playing is probably the most important thing. He sounds a lot like a Coach Saban. It's like the process. He keeps preaching it to the guys. Be smart. Understand what you're doing. Be tough, but be a part of the process. Don't let things get out of whack. That's why Daniel has become a better quarterback. He made sure Daniel's like, okay, you drop back, you look, you've already done your reads, you know where you're going with the ball almost before you take the snap. So if you take the snap and all of a sudden that guy's covered, who are your next two stops? The process has to be started a lot faster so you're not throwing the ball away or throwing interceptions or getting sacked.
Yeah. How are they going to be able to, set this offense up without Saquon Barkley?
I think Daniel's kind of been the bell cow here of late. Even in the game, if you saw this past week, if he has time, and that's a big ask, playing against the Niners. But if he has time, there's a lot of things he can do. A guy that's that mobile can run the ball. A guy that has an arm like that and receivers on the outside, he can stretch the field pretty quickly. So, in the past where they didn't ask him to do a lot, they've been calling him to do a lot more. So this will be another one of those games that he'll be calling him to do a lot more. But I mean, Barkley is phenomenal. He really is dynamic on the outside, catching the ball, running the ball. So a lot of teams worry about him. But as much as they worry about him, they're worried about Daniel. Seemingly, as you saw against the Panthers.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. Howard Cross here.
The Cardinals.
Arizona Cardinals. And you guys outscore up 31-8. Kind of turned the season around early here. They were outscored 60-0 in the first 6 quarters. I'm sure everybody in New York City was freaking out. Howard Cross here, sideline reporter for the New York Giants radio network, former tight end for the New York Giants, played in 207 career games with the Giants, only trailing Michael Strahan and Eli Manning in games played as a Giant. Looking at this defense here, because I got high hopes for this defense when it comes to the New York Giants, and I think without Brandon Ayuk, if the Niners do go that route without Brandon Ayuk, this could be a stiffer challenge that Niner fans anticipate here. Leonard Williams, we know about him. Dexter Lawrence, this defensive line, and Ashawn Robinson. Discuss this defensive line because it feels like that's the strength of this unit, and Wink Martindale could do a lot of different things knowing that he has a D-line like this.
He can, but, the thing that everybody's been talking about is that, we haven't had a sack yet. We've had a bunch of quarterback hurries, quarterback hits, but no sacks, and that's what everybody's waiting on, the sacks. And the way Wink's defense is run, there's a lot of man-to-man, so there are not a lot of opportunities for interceptions unless the safeties are in position to get them because the cornerbacks usually are playing with their backs to the ball.
How vulnerable are these corners? 2 rookies here, Deonte Banks, Trey Hawk is a third. How vulnerable are these guys here, and how vulnerable have they been so far through the first 2 weeks of the season?
I'm just going to tell you, those 2 kids can play. that it's pretty impressive when you're watching them play. I think both guys have gotten too much. They've been a little too physical with the receivers and caught in flags, one in each game. But for the most part, you're not beating them, you're not shaking them. They're big, strong guys. They're both over 6 foot tall. They're both right around 200 or 210, and they can both run. So they've been more than impressive. The first round pick in Banks and Hawkins, the 6th round pick out of Old Dominion.
I mean, you've played the game for a long time, and so you have good perspective on this, and now you're on the, I guess, essentially on the media side. What's going on with Kayvon Thibodeau dismissing the scrutiny from quote-unquote social media GMs? We get a lot of scrutiny on the Niners when it comes to Brock Purdy or whomever it is, the coach. But to see Kayvon Thibodeau kind of fire back at people, I had a chuckle.
Well, it's a different world. Like when I played, the only people I had to worry about were people like me coming into the locker room and questioning me and telling me, what I had done wrong or what I need to do better. And I would laugh. I'm like, do you even know what I'm doing during the game? They're like, what are you talking about? I understand. You can't tell me that. I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. So, I don't presume to know what anybody's doing. But these guys today, because of their quote-unquote social media presence, if you're paying attention to or listening to people, you're going to lose your mind.
Yeah.
Because everybody has something to say. And it's very fun. I do a show called BBK for the Giants, and I had a fan call in the other day and goes like, I can't believe these guys are pulling their hamstrings. Professional athletes should never pull their hamstrings. And I'm like, I just started laughing. I'm like, okay.
Tell me you've never played sports without telling me you've never played sports. Jesus.
It's out of control right now, man. Speaking of which, you're a former tight end, Howard, and we got 2 really good tight ends in this football game tomorrow. George Kittle with the 49ers has been doing it for a while now. Now you've been able to see Darren Waller, who was formerly of the Raiders. We saw him in Oakland for a little bit, and, of course, the Las Vegas Raiders. Darren Waller has the potential to be a really good star, really good player, but you bring up hamstrings. He's had some injuries in the past, hammies or whatnot. How are New York Giants fans embracing Darren Waller? What have you seen from him so far in the New York Giants uniform?
Well, he's been a phenomenal player. He's a former receiver converted to tight end. You can tell it the way he runs his routes, the way he catches the ball. He's hard to cover at that size. He's kind of a mismatch for a lot of teams because you're not expecting a guy that big to be moving that quickly. So that's the great thing about him. He's been getting a very willing blocker because I was thinking to myself, how are they going to run the ball if he's in the game? And he's been more than a willing blocker, and that was something that was really surprising to me, watching him show his skills in blocking. So he's probably, if not going to be for the whole season, it's going to be the leading receiver for the team, because if the offensive line is breaking down, the closest guy to your quarterback is your tight end, and he'll catch a lot of passes, and I'm sure he's pretty happy about that. We have another tight end too, in Bellinger. It's his second year. That don't be surprised if he gets involved in the action, because that kid's extremely talented.
Yeah. When we go to games, I just love watching certain players. Like we get very lucky. We get to see Aaron Donald every year, you know what I mean, in a Niner game. And it's awesome going to a game and watching that guy play. You're on the sidelines, and we kind of have a joke. The Niners are like an all-star team. They got so many stars. Who's the one guy you want to see from that sideline perspective?
Bosa. If I'm watching your guys, it's Bosa. You always want to see what he's going to do. It's always because it's a tight end. That's a guy that I was up against, mostly the guy that's playing on the edge, coming off and blocking him in the run game. Back in my day, it was the 3 yards in the cloud of dust. We weren't throwing the ball all over the field. So I kind of watched those guys to see, Bosa, Watt, guys like that across the league, because you're trying to see, like, okay, well, Micah Parsons, the scariest guy probably on the planet right now. So you're watching these guys trying to see, like, okay, could they have played in our era? And yes, they could have. And it's just interesting to see how they're, taking over games and dominating.
Yeah, no, Bosa's a stud here. Doesn't have the sack yet, but he's getting to the quarterback and hurrying him. As you are listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ, FM, and AC1 San Francisco, the Bay Area sports leader, always live on the free Odyssey app. Go ahead and find us on YouTube and Twitch streams, sponsored by our very good friends at First NorCal Credit Union. Howard Cross, before we get you out of here, what is the perspective of Brock Purdy? We talked about Brock Purdy earlier, and Shasky was asking, what does the national media think about Brock Purdy? He hasn't lost a game yet as a starting quarterback with the 49ers. What is the East Coast perspective of Brock Purdy? What do you guys see in this quarterback with the Niners?
You see a guy that's really steady, that understands the game. You got a great coach in Shanahan that helps him out and can get him in the right position. It's funny that, Mr. quote-unquote, Mr. Irrelevant comes in. The kid played well in college. He didn't have the quote-unquote physical stats that people will be looking for a starting quarterback, so he fell in the draft. He gets to the game, given an opportunity, and he's doing an incredible job. I think that they've fallen into something that's pretty special. And he hasn't. The funny thing is he hasn't lost a game as a starter. So that's the thing that everybody's kind of looking at and trying to figure out how good is this San Francisco 49ers team as a whole, because Brock Purdy just fell into the best position possible.
No doubt. Howard Cross here on the morning, also on 95.7 The Game. Look, man, you're a great sport. We had to bring up the memories because those are iconic football. No, seriously, in the NFL history, those games between the Niners and Giants, whether it's 2011 with Eli Manning and Mario Manningham, with that team you played out with Jeff Hostetler and Belichick.
Booing Shockey in the end zone.
Jeremy
Couldn't
Shockey.
stand that guy.
We've had some iconic games between each other, man. It's always fun when the Giants and Niners get together.
Absolutely. Hopefully it's a fun one Thursday night.
Absolutely. Howard, take care, man. Have fun out here in the Bay.
All right, have a great one, guys.
All right, Howard Cross here on the Morning Rush on 95.7 The Game. 3 minutes away from